The Sloth of Silver Pines, a tale of the slow watcher. In the secluded valley of Silver Pines, where the mountains held the sky in their jagged arms and the lake mirrored eternity with eerie stillness, there sat a veranda unlike any other. It was carved from ancient cedar wood and overlooked a sweeping vista of glacial peaks, whispering forests, and a lake that sparkled with secrets. From this perch, nestled in a grand armchair beneath twisted wooden beams, puffed a most unusual resident, a sloth named Ambrose. But Ambrose was no ordinary sloth. He was the oldest being in Silver Pines, older than the village that blossomed at the lake's edge and older, some said, than the trees themselves. With fur like aged moss and eyes that shimmered with the wisdom of centuries, Ambrose spent his days smoking a well-worn pipe carved from bone wood, watching the world below unfold in its frantic dance of haste and clamor. The villagers never questioned his presence. In fact, they revered it. Every morning, they gathered near the lake with chairs and picnics, children running, artists painting, lovers whispering beneath trees. All knew Ambrose watched them not with judgment, but with deep, contemplative curiosity. Some swore that on rare occasions, he blinked once and changed the course of an entire day. Others believed his smoke carried omens in its swirling patterns. But whatever he was, they called him the Slow Watcher, and he became the living legend of Silver Pines. Generations came and went, but Ambrose remained. He never left the balcony, never moved more than to adjust his pipe or let out a soft, rumbling chuckle. He had seen wars rage far from the peaceful pines. He had seen love bloom on the banks and sorrow fade into the mists. He watched children grow old, watched trees rise and fall, and he watched time itself wander like a confused traveler through the valley. One summer afternoon, the air was thick with golden light and music. A small orchestra from the southern province had arrived to perform by the lake. Dozens of villagers gathered, dressed in their finest, some bringing pastries, others painted parasols. Laughter echoed across the grass, and birds harmonized above the melodies. But as the final note of the first movement played, something peculiar happened. Ambrose stood up, gasps rippled across the meadow. A hush fell, even the birds stopped mid-note. The sloth stretched, slowly and silently, as if pulling his bones from the root of the mountain. His pipe hovered beside him, held by invisible will, still exhaling elegant spirals of smoke. Then he stepped down from the veranda and began to descend the narrow staircase leading to the lake. His every movement was slow, deliberate, and impossibly graceful. It was as if the earth itself paused to allow his steps. The crowd parted like mist before the sun. Children stared wide-eyed. Elders whispered old stories. He has not moved in 100 years, one said. The last time he left the veranda, the river changed course, murmured another. Whatever was happening, it was not ordinary, it was not mortal. Ambrose walked to the edge of the lake and placed a gnarled hand on the water. A tremble passed through the surface. The reflection of the mountains rippled, then shimmered, and suddenly another world was visible beneath the surface. It was a mirror world, a second Silver Pines brighter, stranger, untouched by time. In that world, the villagers saw their dreams walk, versions of themselves that had taken different paths not chosen. A boy saw himself as a sailor, a mother saw herself as a queen. A painter watched her brush strokes become living color in the air. And then, just as suddenly, the image vanished. Ambrose turned to face them. His voice, when it came, was like thunder muffled by snow. "You run so fast," he said, "but never ask where. You chase days, but forget to hold them. This world, your world, is made of minutes. And minutes are made of choices. I have watched you for so long. Today, I show you this. The life you dream lies not in speed, but in presence." He raised his pipe again, puffed once, and from the smoke rose a vision, a single flower, blooming in reverse, its petals folding into a bud, then into seed. The crowd stood in awed silence, unsure if they had witnessed magic or memory. Then, as quietly as he had come, Ambrose turned and walked back up the stairs, step by deliberate step, He sat once more in his chair. The pipe glowed again. The world resumed. No one spoke for a long time. The orchestra resumed eventually, but the music was different now, slower, softer, more thoughtful. The children played quieter games. Lovers held hands longer. Painters painted not to finish, but to feel, and Ambrose, he did not move again for the rest of the year. But every day, the villagers came, not just to be seen, but to see. They watched the clouds roll. They listened to the wind. They noticed one another, and in doing so, discovered a gentler rhythm to life. The valley changed not in shape, but in soul. No longer was Ambrose just the slow watcher. He became a symbol, a guardian of quiet wisdom in a world that ran too fast. His smoke still curled into strange shapes. His eyes still shimmered with secrets. But now, the people of Silver Pines knew that within each slow breath lay an entire universe of meaning. And so, from that veranda in the pines, the sloth continued to watch, not because the world needed a judge, but because sometimes the world simply needed someone to remember how beautiful it was to pause.